Welcome back to Sunday Nation, a special commentary on the state of Michigan allocating $20 million for the city of Highland Park to address its water debt. Of course, that is not the only issue this disenfranchised, impoverished black community faces, but perhaps it is a step. What it does is it raises questions in terms of to what extent or how far is the state willing to go to address all the issues affecting black Michigan. Certainly the Highland Park water debt is important, and it's significant that the state would allocate $20 million for this issue. But of course, the state would not have done so, or the Democratic legislature would not have moved without the insistence or the public outcry that we have seen in the last couple of weeks about the need for state intervention in Highland Park, especially when we talk about what Democrats are doing for black Michigan. When you look at the size of Highland Park, when you look at its population, suddenly it reminds us of the city of Benton Harbor, another city waiting for the state of Michigan to intervene to help address the school debt crisis there, which is about $12.3 million. Now that the state is willing to finally move, and of course I want to qualify that, the Democratic legislature to finally move into Highland Park, let's see what else they're going to do. Highland Park needs support. The education question, that's a big question. Public safety, the McGregor Public Library, which has been shut down for years, that needs to be resurrected. Highland Park needs a lot of support. Are Democrats willing to really use a city like Highland Park to show that it can be a model for serious urban revitalization? And by that I mean helping all urban cities define the right to self-determination for themselves by giving them the resources and helping them get their feet off the ground. Highland Park needs support, and the Democratic legislature ought to move with all deliberate speed to do so. Time and time again, we've said this on this space, that Democrats always talk about how they, in fact, they're the party that cares about black economic advancement, black social advancement. Well, if that is the case, there is no excuse on the part of a majority-controlled Democratic legislature in Lansing not to move to address the crisis in Highland Park and the issue that is playing out in Benton Harbor and other areas. But even as it relates to Highland Park, you know, our conversation with Mayor Glenda McDonald, she talked about replacement, the need to replace those lead pipes in Highland Park. I mean, that's not even on the table for conversation. Nobody's talking about that. Does the state of Michigan know that Highland Park's lead pipes need to be replaced? Or is the state of Michigan going to wait until we have a situation like we did in Benton Harbor, where the water no longer became drinkable, before the state moves to do something about it? These are some of the challenges that urban Michigan, or to be more specific, that black Michigan is facing. And the Democrats cannot stand on the sidelines. They can't say, well, we've given Highland Park $20 million for the water debt, so we're good, we're not doing anything anymore. They can't. They have to go all in and begin to address the urban crisis. They've talked about how this is the fact. This is the first time in 4 decades they've taken over the legislature. That means they have to do something. That means they can use the levels of power in Lansing to bring about the kind of changes that are needed in urban Michigan. Equitable schools, equitable opportunity, water infrastructure, and all the things that sometimes turn out to be a fancy slogan for liberal politicians. Highland Park right now should be able to access federal dollars for infrastructure. Is that something that the state of Michigan is interested in doing under Governor Whitmer's administration? We have no idea. But our job here is we're going to keep asking those questions that are important and necessary in furtherance of the economic interests of black Michigan. Because if black Michigan's issues are taken care of, then all other issues can also be addressed, because black Michigan is part of the collective of Michigan. You know, we hear all the time that Detroit is Michigan's largest city. If Detroit goes, so goes Michigan. So if black Michigan goes, so goes the state of Michigan. And there's no reason why Democrats, now that they have power in Lansing, there's no reason why the Speaker of the House, Joe Tate, he should be visiting Highland Park. Joe Tate, the Speaker of the black Speaker of the House, should be visiting Benton Harbor. Joe Tate should take a tour of black Michigan, not just confine himself in the fancy offices of the speakers in Lansing. He should be visiting these cities to see what Democrats can do while they have the votes and they have the purse strings. With the Democratic legislature and the Democratic governor, if Democrats cannot deliver for black Michigan, then one has to ask the question, when will they ever be able to deliver? And black people have to be able to say, we're tired of your excuses. We're tired of you saying, well, we would have done something if Republicans were in power. Now that you have the legislature and you have the executive branch, the governorship, and you're not willing to do something unless you're publicly forced to, you're publicly called out before you do something, that is a problem. So we're going to, on this end, keep monitoring what is happening in the city of Highland Park. We're going to keep monitoring what is happening in Benton Harbor. And we're also going to keep tabs in terms of what Democrats are going to do for cities like Flint and other enclaves of black existence here in Michigan. We'll be right back with more on Sunday Nation.